So I finally feel like I have enough time on this bike to give you guys a well-rounded review of my 2019 Capra 29er AL base. I'll start by saying that I love this bike and I 100% would buy it again in a heartbeat. That isn't saying there aren't a few things that I would change on it if I had my way, so without stalling too much more, let's get into it.
I was initially interested in this bike because I wanted something that could do it all. Climb to the top, then blast back down with confidence, hit some dirt jumps, or do big days at the bike park. This bike has taken on everything that I've thrown at it, and it's done it well. While I could have saved a little longer and upgraded to the aluminum comp or one of the CF versions, I really wanted to test out the lowest tier bike because it seems like the most commonly reviewed bikes on YouTube are the top of the line builds, which the average person can't really spring for, including myself. I really wanted to test the most affordable option and just see what it could do. It was a tough choice whether to go with the 27.5 or a 29er, but in the end I decided to go with the 29er version. I felt the wheel size would be a little better suited for my taller-ish stature at 6 foot, and I'm also more interested in the straight line stability for enduro racing. I figured the 29er would soak up the chunk a lot better than the 27.5 would, and I think I made the right choice. You point this bike down and nothing wants to stop it.
No worries, got one more coming.
You'll run out of nerve before the bike runs out of capability.
I'm not sending that.
There are things that I love about this bike, but there's also some things that I would change. So first, let's start with the things that I would like to maybe change about it.
The Tellus dropper lever that comes with the bike was extremely floppy. I thought it was made of plastic for a little while even. It functioned just fine, but just felt cheap. I ended up breaking the barrel adjuster on this lever early in the season.
Dang it, totally broke that. Broke my dropper lever.
So I used that as an excuse to change it out for a wolf tooth dropper lever, which is 1,000 times better, and I love it. This bike is fairly decent at climbing. Pedal bob is slight, could be better, could be worse. And it's a little on the heavier side. Cool thing though is the flip chip in the back really does make a huge difference in feel. More on that later. And the saddle, man, it's a good quality saddle, but for me, it just overly tenderizes my cheek meat. I've adjusted it a lot of different ways, but it's just uncomfortable no matter what I do. No gripes on the quality of it, just the fit. I had heard this gripe before I even bought it, and I wrote it off as people being overly picky, but I've grown to miss my water bottle cage. It's actually pretty inconvenient if you're just going out for a short evening ride and you can't just throw a water bottle on your bike and go. I ended up going out and buying a hip pack so I could at least meet in the middle and throw that on and head out the door quickly. Again, not a deal breaker, just mostly an annoyance that I didn't think would bother me, but definitely does. An obvious reason anyone might consider buying this bike is the value, and it's worth every dollar. The spec you get on it is pretty awesome. You get the SRAM NX Eagle drivetrain, which I might make the argument is a little better choice than the E13 setup. I've heard more than once that the E13 cassette can be very finicky, and I've seen this firsthand with my friend's Jeffsy. Shifting will be good on his bike for a couple rides and then need fully adjusted again, and it constantly falls out of gear if you backpedal. For me, the SRAM has been pretty much set it and forget it with zero backpedaling issues. You also get SRAM Code R brakes, RockShox Lyric RC fork, and Super Deluxe R shock. This is a meaty build for a sub $3,000 bike. I will note that this fork has been a little hard for me to dial in. I can soften it up to be compliant on the chop, but it's softer on the bigger lines, or I firm it up for the big lines and it chatters hard at speed. I might need to play with the dials a little more, but it's taken some time for me to iron out. That quirk aside, it's an awesome suspension setup. Let's get back to this flip chip thing. Yes, this bike is a little harder to climb with, but this chip can totally change the character of the bike. In the more trail-oriented mode, the bike definitely is a better climber with a bit less bob, but gives up a tad of stability on the descent. I almost exclusively ride it in the slack orientation, but doing so makes the front wheel wander a tad and makes it about 5 to 10% harder to climb with. The wandering is probably also due to the fact that it's on the bigger end of the sizing spectrum for me since it's an XL. The flip chip is a bit of a pain to swap around trail side, so I can see why the shape shifter feature of the Canyon Strive would be so appealing, although that's at a higher price point. This thing is a monster truck going downhill. Without exaggerating, this bike doubled my confidence. It just fit way better than the giant trans I was riding, and if I get into a bit of trouble with it, it usually soaks it up and lets me keep riding.
Woo!
This bike is very lively on the trail, and the harder you push it, the more it comes alive. I've just recently decided to try a clipless setup, and doing that alone makes climbing twice as easy. The thing that ultimately sold me on the Capra though, is its unique geometry. I prefer a bigger feeling bike, especially having a moto background, and with YT, they made the seat tube a short 465mm for the size XL, compared to the other bikes I was looking at which had a seat tube length of 30 to 40mm taller. I wanted to size up to the XL in order to get that longer reach I was after and not have to worry if the pedals were going to be too far away, and YT fit that requirement.
This is a pretty amazing bike for what you pay for it. I don't know if there's another bike out there that's as good for the price as this one right here. I hope you guys found this little video helpful. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up, and I would love it if you subscribed. Until next time, you guys, keep the rubber side down.
Last little thing, if you guys have any extra questions about the bike, shoot them down in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. Thanks again.